Hello, this is Dr. Russ with a demonstration of how to create a simple frequency table in histogram in Excel. And I still have this froggy voice, so forgive any of that voice lack of clarity here. The problem is this. Below are the number of pets owned in homes in a particular housing area. Describe these data as follows. In A, we're asked to find the minimum and maximum number of pets and calculate the range. In B, we're creating a simple frequency table in Excel using the COUNTIF function. In C, we're inserting a histogram and giving it a clear descriptive title. And in D, we're describing the shape of the histogram in words. The skills we'll be learning to select long columns of data using Control-Shift-Arrow. We'll be learning to use the COUNTIF function to count frequencies. And we're learning to use the $ and formulas to hold a reference cell stable. So let's go ahead and I'm going to put my answers right here. First, A. We're asked to find the minimum, maximum, let me put a period here, to find the minimum, maximum, and range. So I'm going to organize it nicely here for the instructor. And to find the minimum, we'll use a quick formula. We're just going to use the formula min. So we'll type equals min for minimum. We'll have an opening parenthesis and we'll select the range. And I'm going to place my cursor in the top cell. And to select this long range of data, we follow the step in number 1. While this is still vibrating, we're going to hold Control Shift and the down arrow in this case. And this will select for us all of the cells down to the first empty cell. We can just hit enter right here. And it tells us, as we probably already knew, the minimum was 0. Let's do the same for maximum. Let's type equals max. And then we'll place our cursor in the top cell of the range of data we want. We'll hold Control Shift down arrow to select all of it and enter. And we can see the maximum or the most pets anyone owns is 5 in this particular area. And the range is just maximum minus minimum. Let's use a formula, even though it's very simple math. We'll click in the cell with the maximum. And we'll use our minus sign and get the minimum. There's the formula for our range. And we can see we have a range of 5 in this data set. We know that when we have fewer than 5 in our range, a simple frequency table is appropriate. So let's go ahead and make the frequency table. B. Simple frequency table. So we're going to type in our values in the first column, just like we did when we did it by hand, frequencies in the second column, and percents in the third column. The values that we have are just the different numbers of pets. So we have some homes with 0 pets. We have some with 1 pet, some with 2 pets, some homes with 3 pets, and some homes with 4 pets. And some homes with 5 pets. I'll go ahead and fix this up a little so it's nice and neat. That's one thing about statistics is when you're presenting data, you want everything to be lined up and tidy. So how are we going to get our frequencies using the COUNTIF function? We could type out the formula looking something like this. And then if we knew the formula, we could just type it in. But since we're just learning the formula, let's go ahead, place our cursor where we want the frequency to be, and click in this little FX button for a function. We can do a search for the function we want, which is going to be COUNTIF. And in mine, we can hit go, and you can see that it appears right here, COUNTIF. The COUNTIF S, we're going to use in our next example if we have multiple criteria. For now, we just need COUNTIF. We'll select our range, place the cursor in the top cell, hold Control Shift and down arrow to select the entire range. And the criteria is just what it is that we want to be counted. And in this case, we're counting 0 pets. And so let's go ahead and type in our 0 for 0 pets. Don't type in the word pets, just the 0. And we can see that we have 48 cells with that number. 48 homes with 0 pets. Let's do the same again by way of demonstrating again. Let's use the COUNTIF function. We select the range by placing our cursor in the top cell, holding Control-Shift down arrow, and we can just hit enter there. Whoops. When it says we've entered too few arguments, it means that we didn't have time to enter the criteria. So let's go back into our function. There's our range, that's appropriate. And right now we're counting 1 pet, so we'll enter 1. Now we can do the same way all the way down if we want, but an easier way is to copy and paste this formula. I'm going to do it, and there's going to be a mistake in it that I want you to observe, and we'll have to correct this mistake. Look at the range of interest. We want C9 through C157. That's our range of interest. Let's click out of that and look at what happens when we copy and paste it. Here, in this formula, you can see that the range now moved down to C10. But we want to include this C9, or we'll get the wrong count. So we don't want, in this case, Excel to be referential. We don't want it to move down as we move down over here in the formula. So to do that, we have to delete this formula, and we have to do something in the original formula. In the original formula, we want to tell Excel to stay in row 9. That's where our data begin. So to do that, we put a $sign right before the 9. This is just a trick that you know this is what tells Excel stay in row 9. And we want it to end in row 157. And likewise, we'll put the $sign before the 157. Now we can go ahead and enter. And if we look at our formula, we'll see it's exactly the same. It's just that we've added that $sign. And this allows us to copy our formula. So let's go ahead and copy this formula and paste it all the way down to 2, 3, 4, and 5 pets. I'm using Control-C to copy and Control-V to paste. But as you know, we could also do this. We could copy it and then just double click on this little box when this cross appears, and it will copy that formula all the way down. So either way is okay for us. And right now we want to change our criteria. We don't want to count 1 pet anymore. We want to count the homes with 2 pets. So let's go into the formula bar and change the 1 to a 2 and hit enter. And now we can see that 19 of the homes had 2 pets. Let's do in the next cell, we want to change that 1 to a 3. Here is the 1 pet that it's counting here. We want it to count 3s, 3 pets. So we'll change the 1 to a 3 and hit enter. Now let's count the homes with 4 pets. We'll change the 1 to a 4 and hit enter. And let's count the homes with 5 pets by changing the 1 to a 5 and hitting enter. Now we have our frequency table. We want to sum these up, and we should find that the sum equals 149 because we had 49 homes that we counted. So let's go ahead and use our sum formula that you already know, equals sum, opening parenthesis, and let's tell it to sum up all of these values. And we do get 149. That is our total, 149 homes. Now we can get our percents, and we know that percent is just the frequency divided by the total. Percent equals frequency divided by total. So let's go ahead and do that. Equals, here's our frequency divided by total. Now mine came up as percent because I had formatted it earlier, but if yours comes up as a decimal, all you need to go is right click in that cell, go to Format Cells, go to this number selection, and tell it you want a percent with 0 decimal places. Let's do the next one. Equals the frequency divided by total. Now, we could again use our copy paste to save us time, and we do that by stabilizing the cell. So if I just copy paste here, we get a mistake, right? And we get that mistake because it's trying to divide by this empty cell. It moved down a row. In order to tell it to continue to divide by the total that is already here, we need to go back to the cell we're copying, type in the $sign, put it before row 20 because we want to tell Excel to stay in row 20 and hit enter. Now, if we copy and paste this formula, it'll give us all of the percents. We can copy it using Control C and Control V, or we can copy and paste by, when we get this dark arrow in the lower right corner, just double clicking, and it'll calculate all those percents. And once again, if yours don't show up as percents, select the cells, right click, go to Format Cells, and tell it from this list, select percentage and tell it 0 decimal places. Our frequency table is now done, and that's the bulk of what we had to do. We're now on C, creating a histogram. So let's go ahead and do this. It's quite simple. In our histogram, we want to show the values and the frequencies. So let's go ahead and just select the values and frequencies. We'll go to Insert, and we're going to select this first one. Now, if you look at this, you'll see this is a histogram. We're not using that function to create our histogram because it has a little bit of nuance to it. Instead, we're just going to use a bar chart. And I'll show you how we're going to change it so it looks like a frequency chart, looks like a histogram. So let's go ahead and select it. We'll select just this first 2D column. And here's our chart with our pets. But this isn't quite right because it looks like a bar chart and we want it to look like a histogram. So to change it, place your cursor in any one of the bars and click one time. You will see that all the bars are selected. Now, while all the bars are selected, right click and go to Format Data Series. We'll get something like this over in the right menu. Yours might be showing up here on Fill and Border. It might be showing up here on all these fancy effects. Where you want it to show up is here in the series options. And all you need to do is go to this gap width and slide it down to 0. And you can see that now we have what looks like a histogram. Double click in chart title and give your chart a nice title. I'm going to write histogram. I'm going to write Ch01. I'll give it a number. It's a good habit to get into. Histogram of the number of pets owned living in homes in a particular housing area. And now we should be set. I'm going to take and drag this down to histogram. If you have any trouble, sometimes when you're trying to drag it, you accidentally double click and you move this or something like that. If you do that by accident, just click undo, click off it, and just click one time, maybe toward the corner of it, and you should be able to drag it around. And the last thing we're doing for this example is part D. We're going to describe the histogram. And I would say that this is not normal. It's not symmetrical. Chart 1 shows a distribution that is not normal distributed. It is skewed left and asymmetrical. Means it's not symmetrical, the same on both sides. Symmetrical. And I don't really see evidence of kurtosis, so I'm going to write there is no evidence of kurtosis. That would be a distribution that has really heavy tails. We don't really have enough data to look for that, but it's good to get used to doing that phrase. And that is the end of how we're doing this. And once you do it a few times, these things become much easier. So I wish you luck. I hope this goes well for you.